This is Short-Term Rental Management, the show that is all about short-term rental property management with your host, yours truly, Luke Carl. Long hair Luke, Short-Term Rental Management. It is a great day for a wonderful day. I'm super psyched to be here. Life is good. And today we will talk about rental real estate, as we always do on Short-Term Rental Management. Today's topic is rates versus quality of guest. Right after these words.
Did you know that we're officially back in a buyer's market? That's right. Even though interest rates continue to rise, they are causing prices to fall. So there's finally room for you to do regular real estate investor things that we couldn't do for so long, like negotiate, make lower offers, ask for sellers to cover some of your closing costs. So it's a really great time to buy in terms of being able to get a lower purchase price and being able to negotiate. So if you're looking for your first or next short-term rental, it's a perfect time to reach out to us at the Short-Term Shop. Let our team of agents in any of our true vacation market destinations help you find the perfect investment. Jump on over to theshorttermshop.com and click Get Connected to get started. We are brokered by eXp Realty. See y'all over there.
All right. Showtime. Short-term rental management. It's so awesome to be here. I'm so grateful to be able to talk about this wonderful subject that has completely changed my life. And I got my good friend Tim, who's got way too much in common with me. And now we have matching tattoos. That just randomly happened. It was coincidence, quite frankly. But both Midwestern boys, both love long-term rental, but spend most of our days in short-term. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Glad to be here, Luke. Beautiful day up here in Tennessee. So no complaints.
Yes, sir. You are in East Tennessee, and you are a real estate agent. If anybody wants to buy a cabin in the Smokies, they can call you. Is that true?
That is absolutely true. We live right in the middle of it, and we live it and breathe it and eat it every day. So if you're interested in getting into this ball game, give me a call. That's
right. I love it. Well, listen, plug Ola, baby. I ain't worried about it. So today we're going to talk about rates versus quality of guests. We see this in the shoulder. They call it, shoulder months, which is a nice way of saying a slow month. And May, for instance, and we're recording this early June, so we just come out of May, and then we're going to deal with September coming up pretty soon, and January and February as well, and how low is too low, and does it affect your guests? And I broad scope of things, the answer is yes and no. I think there's something to be I think there's something to be said for folks that are just looking for a deal. You can find some of the most awesome people on the planet that are just simply looking for a deal, and they're going to leave the best review ever because they got a good deal. And they don't even, a lot of times those type of folks don't even care if like you got mixed match coffee cups or something weird like that, and then you got, and so sometimes in that regard, the higher dollar guests can be a little more picky, but anyway, I remember years ago, my brother called me up, and he was on his way to see me, and he stopped and he stayed in an Airbnb, it might've been a Verbo, I don't know. And he said to me, he goes, dude, it was like we were like their first booking, and we were super glad about that because we got a better deal, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much common sense, I guess. But there are folks out there that's like their main thing there is like looking for a better deal, trying to save a couple of bucks. And that was the case in this situation for sure. But again, like I said, plenty of folks that are, bargain hunters can be wonderful people and end up leaving a fantastic review.
Yeah. My wife's actually one of them. She likes a deal, and, but also she is going to be like, if we stay in your Airbnb, it's literally going to be cleaner than when we got there. She is, she's one person that cleans like crazy when we leave, which is, probably going in the weeds a little bit there. I guess the point is, like you said, there are, when you go cheap, you're not guaranteed a bad guest. And I think cheap is relative. If you got a place that's, $500 in July and you're renting it for $90 in July, that could cause a problem. But if that same place might be $90 in your slow season, and you could get just, I mean, we do it all the time. I mean, our beach places, our range is $75 to $500 a night, depending on the time of year, and we get great guests at $75 a night during off season, and it doesn't scare me at all. It sucks, but that's just the nature of the beast. And then, like you said, sometimes they're really high dollar guests. They have a really high, if they paid top dollar for this place, even if it's in peak season, they have a high expectation usually. So your place better be good. You better have matching coffee cups and such, or you might hear about it. And I know you've experienced this, Luke, but holiday guests can, that a lot of times they paid the top dollar, and they can be tough.
That's a perfect example of the high dollar folks being tough. Yes, the holidays. We'll get into that. Let me ask you a question here about because I know you got a lot of long terms, and I think you're self managing those. What are your thoughts there as far as like and again, it's all relative. Are we renting a $1,500 house for $1,100? Or are we renting a $1,100 house for $1,100? There's a difference,
right?
And because it was a different time of year, if you rent your $1,100 house and your $1,500 house in December, it's an $1,100 house.
Yeah.
If you're renting it in April, it's a $1,500 house. So now in that case, I don't think you're going to get a different quality of guest. If you're renting your $1,500 long-term rental in April for $1,100, then maybe we're getting somebody who's, a little underqualified and paying a little less, and maybe could be a little more. Sometimes, again, anybody can be a pain in the ass, but is that person going to complain a little more because they let me put it this way. Okay. I guess I've gotten something that I really couldn't afford, and now maybe I want more out of everybody. I don't know, I'm entitled at this point or something like that. In other words, is it similar to going to a restaurant and with a coupon code, but again, I think your wife might do something like that, and she's not going to complain and be, a pain in the ass.
No, I think what people are afraid of are, I'll say a cheap client, tenant, guest, whatever, coming in and destroying the place, or be, it's, there's two things: there's being a pain and there's destroying the place, and we don't want either one necessarily. And, I kind of know you look at this the same, but when it comes to the property, we really strive, like in long terms and short terms, to make it hard for them to have anything to complain about, regardless of what it is, and regardless of who's booking it. We don't treat it any different in slow season than we do high season. It's make the property nice and treat the people awesome. And that's kind of, what we do. Every once in a while, could you get a bad apple? Sure. But I think I really believe that can go both ways. I mean, you had a famous quote out there a while ago that was, set your prices one step higher than cooking meth in the bathroom, and
that was impromptu, by the way.
Yeah. And everybody knows that's a joke, but you don't want to. I don't know. There's always, I like to think of it too, like in off season, if we can give somebody a vacation that may not have been able to afford it, they could be super appreciative of that, and I love that. I love providing that service. I mean, to be able to give a family a vacation that they can't afford it during high season. That's great. So. Yeah.
Let me throw this at you. Grant Cardone quote, which is, I'm a big fan of his, and he's very motivational, that kind of thing. Read in one of his books, he said, the more they pay, the less they complain. And I hate to tell you, I do think that is the case, sort of, for the most part, but obviously there's major exceptions to that rule. How do you feel about that quote?
To some degree, I do. Generally, I agree with that. The big thing, I think, is, again, looking at your seasons and stuff. I mean, it's all relative, just because, again, I go back to, do I want a $75 a night guest during $500 a night season? No, I don't. I don't want to drop that far. But if you're in off season, it's kind of supply and demand. I mean, your primo guest in the winter might only be, whatever. It depends on your place, but it might only be $90 a night or something, or $100 a night, whatever it is. But it's going to be substantially less. And I don't know if that's necessarily people get caught up, but everybody, I hear it a lot, like, oh, how can your prices be so low? And I don't like my prices. I want them high as possible. I mean, you definitely want to make the dough. But if we're right on top of the time and date that we're looking at, and it's not booked, I'd rather have something than nothing. I want people in there. I want my property getting used. So
yeah, see, I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about this whole subject because, and maybe because again, we've been doing this for a really long time, and I think a lot of this, if they don't pay enough, they're gonna be bad guests. Thing maybe is kind of for noobs. But maybe not. I don't know. But see, my thing is I get to this point, I don't care. I don't care, whether they complain or not. I got to get the people in there,
Right.
So sometimes I'm looking at my calendar and I'm like, okay, time to go too low. It's time to go too low, and sometimes I'm looking at my calendar and it's like, okay, let's bump this up a little bit. And I'd say it's 50-50, we're living
for sure.
We're living in a world right now where everybody's scared to death that things are going down and nobody's going on vacation again. And I just don't see that, man. I mean, again, I start to feel like a cheerleader, like I'm trying to lift up the entire community to stand tall and be proud and say, hey, man, we're going to get this thing done. We're going to get this thing booked. And that's okay. If you guys need me to be your cheerleader, I'm here for it, but.
And the thing of it too, is it's not, again, you set your prices low. And if you set them too low and it starts like you start getting railroad with too many bookings, it's just as easy as raising them back up. You don't, just because you went too low for a day or two doesn't mean you got to leave it there, and I don't, I mean, when we go too low, if the floodgates open too much, we shut it back off and raise our prices back up. Generally what I'm looking at, like you said, I'm generally looking at like, really the off seasons, is where I'm going pretty low, the Mays and Septembers and, January and February's. So, and, in those months, I'm just trying to string along, make sure it gets booked. Cause I don't want to.
This comes from, I mean, this is a psychology here. Did somebody get burned by somebody who didn't pay that much money? And then,
I'm sure. A lot of it goes back to, there's a general stigma around all this that, oh, your place is going to get trashed. The whole stigma around owning rental real estate is, the anti people are, people are going to trash your place and you're going to be fixing toilets all the time, and, that's just out there.
Is that kind of true though? I mean, not the trash in your place, but you're always fixing toilets. I mean, it's always something.
I've got a toilet. I've got a toilet to fix today.
Oh, absolutely. It never ends. I got a dishwasher going in that I thought was brand new, and it turns out it never got replaced when I thought it got replaced. And you get to the point where you got so many of these things that you can't even keep track, and that's a wonderful thing. But if you're sitting there worried about every one of these little toilet issues, you're never going to get to that point. You can't get to that point where you got so many toilets they don't matter anymore if you're sitting around worrying about your damn toilet, Come party with me, Cashflow Carl, at BPCon. I'm hosting the short-term rental workshop. You can sign up for this when you sign up for BPCon. You can do that at biggerpockets.com/events. This is October 15th through the 17th for the event. I am speaking at 2 different presentations. But what you're looking to sign up for is the short-term rental workshop hosted by yours truly, Cashflow Carl, the Reverend of Real Estate, and Avery Carl. So the short-term rental workshop, BPCon 2023, October 15th. Sign up before it sells out. So,
and going back to a little bit what you said, I frankly don't worry about toilets or being too low at this point too much. I mean, obviously, there's math that has to work out. If you're not, you can't go a whole year and not make money. We're not doing that at all. We're making dough, but to fill a calendar, I guess I knock on wood, haven't had like this horrible guest experience. Have I had people smoke weed in our place? Yes. Have we had places get left a little dirtier than what we would have liked? Yes. But has it altered my life at all? No. I mean, it hasn't been anything bad. So.
See, now we're going down a rabbit hole. Do I even care if somebody smokes weed in my house? I don't at all, because if you're on vacation, you should be having a good time. And there, you get these people on the internet. And again, I don't know, are we dabbling in legal territory here? You know, I don't want anybody to break any laws or anything like that. You know, I'm not encouraging that. But you see on Facebook all the time, or wherever you're talking to folks that do this, and they're freaking out. Oh my God, my cleaner said they were smoking weed in the house. How do you know it wasn't your cleaner?
That's very true.
You know, that's the first.
Yeah.
The first thing I think is why are we pointing fingers here? First of all, who cares? And second of all, who cares? They didn't burn it down.
Right.
You know,
Make it go away and move on.
they're on vacation. People do wacky stuff on vacation. Weed's legal in like what? I don't know, 40 something states now. It's crazy. So I made that up. Don't quote me on that. There's some weed statistic guy out there that's screaming at me right now, you know. But
sorry I brought it up.
Yeah. The weed guy. But you know, I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. And hey, man, some of that weed is expensive. So just because they're smoking weed in there doesn't mean they don't have any money, you know.
Right.
So, you know, it's a fine line there. I guess, you know, we're just playing devil's advocate across both ends of this thing. I guess the long story short here, don't be worried about it. Don't be afraid of it. You can't be worried about somebody coming in and trashing your place and smoking weed in your place. Oh my God, my cleaner.
You know, that goes for anything.
Place.
That goes for anything, whether it be pricing or even, you know, like events. A lot of these places, you know, whether you're at the mountains or the beach or whatever, there's events and festivals and there's things that attract people. And the Smokies, I see a lot of, you know, negative chatter on the internet about some of the car events, you know, and the clientele they bring and stuff. And, you know, kind of like back to your point, yeah, these people are on vacation. You know, they've literally saved up a year to go to this event, and so they're going to let loose a little bit. But I'll be honest, my wife has agonized a little bit, like, oh my gosh, we got, you know, 8 cars or 8 lifted trucks at our place, and they're going to trash the place. And then she's like driven down there as soon as they leave to find it shockingly clean and well put together. And, you know, they're on the porch drinking and carrying on until 3 a.m, and the place is fine. You know, they just had a good time on vacation and they left. And that's what we're here for, you know? So
all I can do is tell my stories, you know what I mean? And hopefully that because again, yeah, I don't even know if we're getting anywhere on this podcast today. So wait, did they tell us that people that don't pay a lot are not going to be good guests, or what did they say? I don't even know. But all I can do is tell my story. I got a story for you. I had one time, it wasn't even my story. I'll make it my story. So this dude posted or texted me maybe, and he had a picture of, there was it was bike week or something, you know, and he had like 6 Harleys in his driveway. And he had a little caption on the picture. I don't remember if it was a text or what, or on the internet maybe. And he goes, well, looks like my place is going to be trashed. And I was like, do you have any idea how much those motorcycles cost? I mean, like you're talking $50,000 a pop, and that's funny money. You know, that's a funny money purchase right there. So these guys are probably, because these were all baggers. You know, these were all top, and I've got one. I'm defending myself here. I'm a biker. You're a biker. I've got, you know, brand new bagger and the whole 9 yards, and these were all brand new Harley Davidson baggers. These things are majorly expensive. I'm talking, you know, you can't even breathe at Harley Davidson without spending $10,000. You know, it's crazy. So I was like, man, well, that I don't like the way that guy's thinking about things, and I hope I'm not thinking about things that way, because I guarantee you, every dude in that house was like a dentist, you know, is a doctor, just getting away on the weekend on his bagger, and loving life, and he's probably got a boat too, you know. But anyway, but yeah,
I think back to the point of this is like, you know, don't. It goes back to the whole your sign off. Don't overthink this stuff. You know, I mean, it can you get bad guests from being too cheap? Yes, yeah, you can. You know, can you get bad guests being too expensive? Yeah, you can. You can get bad guests no matter what, but you can also get tons and tons and tons of fantastic guests by just getting out there and doing this.
Well, and I hate to tell you, it's your fault either way, because it's all about, you know, you being a good landlord or host in this case is all about setting expectations. And if, you know, it goes back to like I always say, that the person that posts on the internet says they snuck in a dog. Well, that's your fault. That's your fault. Well, how do you know that? Well, I saw it on my camera. You see that constantly in this business, and that person's not good at this. Right. If you see somebody sneaking in a dog, you just admitted that you suck at this, because number one, you should have made it very clear that that dog was not allowed to begin with. If that's your policy, you know what I mean? If you're posting on the internet saying, oh my goodness, they did this and they shouldn't have. Now, of course, there's always going to be the person that sneaks it in. All right, there's always going to be the bad apple. We'll get to that, but my thing there is that you got to tighten it up. You got to tighten it up on the front end, and if you are going to go low on your prices, be honest. Be honest, people like a deal. Everybody likes a deal. I can walk into the damn lawnmower shop. They got 2 exact lawnmowers. The other one's a year-old model, but it's $5,000 cheaper or whatever, $500 cheaper. Some people are going to jump all over that, and some people are going to buy the one that's full price, brand new model, and he's probably going to complain even more because he wants the biggest and baddest and best of everything, and then he gets it home and it wouldn't start or whatever, and so it could go either way. Now, in the past, have I been guilty of saying, oh man, this guest is going to stink because they only spent, this was priced too low? Yes. As time goes by, I'm getting out of that a little bit. And again, I think it has a lot to do with quality of management. You got to be a good manager, setting expectations, putting it in your listing. This is a deal for a reason. Now, do you want to say, hey, we're giving you a great deal on this because nobody else wants to book our house? No, you don't want to do that.
Right.
But there's no reason you can't say, hey, we're having a sale on this for a blowout these late season, whatever's left over nights, that kind of thing. Obviously, you don't want to be that long. Nobody's going to read that many words on your listing. That's too much, but you get my idea.
I do cancellation specials when there's been no cancellation. I'll say, cancellation special. Somebody canceled these dates.
That's brilliant.
Stuff like that.
That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. But it takes effort, takes work, you got to give a shit. Pardon my language, but and again, if you're a dentist that's busy all day working, back to the dentist on the Harley. If you're managing this short term, bought a short term and a Harley that year, that kind of thing. Probably don't have time for that kind of stuff. But if you're a regular Joe that has a job that you don't like and you're looking to get out of that one, do real estate full time, you've got to do that stuff. Yeah, I mean that's a brilliant move there. I like that trick, man. Somebody canceled my booking. Man, now you got me thinking. I'm going to use that trick, dude. That's a good one. That's a good one because it goes back to. I used to use a trick where I'd say, "Hey, we got a new housekeeper. Can you tell me if they're any good?" You can't say, "Hey, can you let me know if my housekeeper's sucking lately?" Because then it's like, well, you should know that, But if you say my housekeeper's brand new, then you have a reason to ask. So you're basically saying you're giving them a reason why those prices are low, other than the fact that they were just nobody wanted them, So. Right. Brilliant. I love it, man.
Because there is the psychology some people get where if they see something too cheap, they don't want it because of what's wrong with it, And so there's all kinds of stuff in all this. But
that is true. You can be way lower than your neighbors, and they'll end up getting booked first. Especially if you don't have any reviews. Don't have any reviews, it's too good to be true. Okay. This.
And if you don't have that's a great point there too. If you don't have reviews, that's a perfect time to say why. I mean, new house special, new host, new this, new whatever, but you need to say why there's no reviews.
I see it time and time again. And I've been doing this since day one. When I first started years and years ago, every one of my listings said new listing special where our prices are low to build up some great reviews on this brand new property. And this, we're talking way before this oversaturation word came out. That's not a word, and all this. I'm talking years ago. You got to get, it's like you said, you got to give them a reason. And I see it time and time again. That was my point that I almost forgot there. Where somebody posts a new listing, we got a group for that, short-term rental listing advice on Facebook. We'd love to have you in there. It's a happy family. It's a kind of a smaller group, about 4,000 or 5,000 people, and we and you can post your listing in there and get advice from. And I'm in there a lot. I'm happy to give you some critique, and I'll be as nice as I can. But every single one of these listings, they say they put the name of the property in the headline. They put a big giant chunk of words in the paragraph. It's like a paragraph of words rather than separated with some breathing room bullet point kind of thing. And then they repeat the name of the property. When I say name of the property, they named this house like the Johnny's Fish Camp or something. And they put Johnny's Fish Camp summer rates or whatever in the headline. And then in the description, it's a big chunk of words, and it says, "Welcome to Johnny's Fish Camp." And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, "Is this a restaurant? Like, what am I renting here?" Nobody knows what Johnny's Fish Camp is. All right, that's a whole nother podcast. But what you need to be doing is saying this is a brand new listing, and we're keeping our rates low because we're working on some great reviews, and we're trying to build up our business here. We want somebody to take a chance on us. We want you to take a chance on us. We promise we won't let you down. It's all way too much. You got to consolidate all this into one sentence. But that's what you're talking about. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Dumbfounded. We're both speechless. We're speechless on this subject. So.
No, again, the big thing I don't want to do, I don't want to act like this is a race to the bottom or trying to encourage having like too low of rates, because it's not that. It's just, again, we're coming off of May, and we came off of a lot of people saying they weren't booked. And there's a bit of a fear there of going too low, and what's too low. And, I think we covered this, or you covered this in other podcasts. You got to know what your numbers are. What's it take to, hit your mortgage and all that stuff. And sometimes you might have to go lower than that. You don't want to do that every month, like I said, but, in a shoulder off season month, you may have to do that once or twice a year. But it's not a race to the bottom, but it is just knowing that, the world's probably not going to come to an end if you, book some guests at a lower rate than what you may think is okay. So.
Yeah, and this podcast is probably not going to come out I'm pretty far in the can on the show here, so I'm thinking it'll be close to September, or not close to it, but at least close enough to be worried about it when this thing comes out. So it'll be relevant again. Everybody's going to ride high on that June and July and kind of get complacent and maybe, I don't want to say lazy, but get comfortable, and then it'll come right back around again. So now, again, just to recap, Can you get a crappy guest if you go too low? Yes, you can. And I think that probably, long story short, it's maybe a little more probable there. It's a little more percentage of a chance that things might go a little south if it's a super low dollar booking, especially if you don't have a reason for it to be a low dollar booking. Like, oh, we just booked this house for $98. They don't know it's a $400 a night house, or whatever it is. And I'm making these numbers up, but they don't know that, I've even done that before. I've done that before where I mentioned to a guest in April. I don't have a good example, but you'll see what I'm saying. In like April where they, or maybe May or early March on a beach property where they only paid like, I don't know, $200 a night. And they're like, hey, something about, they asked me some random question, and I'm like, I don't think you realize this thing rents for $1,000 a night in June, because it is a completely different clientele and different times of the year, which also blows my mind. Let me throw this at you. Dude, it's coming as heavy season right now. This is completely off topic, but I do not understand why these people spend so much money on the busy. I would much rather spend more money on a time when there's nobody going to be there personally. Oh, man, I'm like, dude, this beach is going to be empty. Sign me up, dude. When is that? November? I'm in.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, I got a 4th of July booking for like a ridiculous amount of money. And I was like, why would anybody want these nights? You can't even get to the beach, Right. But anyway, the total tangent there.
You're not wrong though, but no, it's I don't know. There's just, like I said, there's a lot in what makes a bad guest, what makes a good guest, and all that. And I don't know. We just have the mindset of make our properties as good as possible and provide as good of a service to every single guest, regardless of season. You touched on them not knowing this is $1,000 a night place and they're paying $200. It's not their job to know that. They know they paid $200. And that may be a lot to them. It may not be a lot to them. Depends on. But if they're coming in an off season, they know they're going there in an off season for a reason. That's what the prices are. Then maybe they think it's a $200 a night house. That's ridiculous that the idiots pay $1,000 a night for your last point, And so it doesn't matter what they think it is what they pay. They paid what they paid, and you guys agreed to that, and now it's your job to provide them a vacation, or a house to go on vacation, and not a vacation. But so
I think the two most important things to remember here is that if people are complaining, it is your fault. I mean, it's your job to make your house to the point where it's badass. That doesn't mean you won't get somebody come in there that is beyond that, and they're just looking to be malicious and trash your house. We can't be sitting in fear and worried about that. So I think that's the biggest part here is to make sure your house is bulletproof. They want to shoot bullets at it. Well, sorry, you can't do that because my coffee machine's on point and my sheets are top quality, and nobody can touch me. You just got to be better than anybody else. It all goes back to management, short-term rental management podcast. So we're a little bit, we got our own opinions here, but it is true. It is true. You want to be the best in the business. You got to be the best in the business. And I hope you got a nice. I'll tell you what. If nothing else, it was worth listening to this to steal Tim's trick. There, we need a name for that. The cancellation discount. That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Now, next thing you know, that's going to be spreading around. I'm going to get the cancellation discount tattoo. All right, man. Anything else on the subject?
Right next to the price tickle. Right next to the price tickle.
The tickles. Tim's coming up with he's quotable, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway. At the end of the day, it is it's a, that depends kind of a situation that we're talking about here, but hopefully you gain some value going back and forth on this thing with us. And we just want to bring some people some comfort and let you know, hey, at the end of the day, just move on to the next guest, get them in there, make sure they have a good time, move on to the next guest. And that's what it's all about. So, that's it, man. I love you. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging on short-term rental management. We'll do it again next Tuesday, and don't overthink it.